Well, that's 4 games down. When I initially decided to take on the Tales of series, I had some experience with the later titles. However, I never realized just how grand the series as a whole quite was, and with such a rich and interesting history to boot with its earlier titles, laying out what would be the very foundation of just about everything Tales is known for today. We took to Azalea and followed Cress in his adventure involving time travel to stop the menacing Douse, twice I might add. We took up the Swordians and followed our destiny with Stan to save the world from destruction. We traveled through both Inferia and Celestia to prevent the two worlds from colliding into each other with Reed. And finally, we came back to the world of Destiny as the son of Stan, Kyle, to prevent a false goddess from rewriting history. Oh, and her no-item screaming lackey too. With each title, we've learned more and more about Tales' history, and that is honestly my ultimate goal to both experience and share with you all. What started off as an unpublished script set called Tales Fantasia, written by Yoshiharu Godanga, would turn into something much larger in scale than what anyone would have expected. The early staff at Wolf Team would put in quite a lot of work to solidify Tales' legacy among the great JRPGs, as well as those who would eventually be longtime composers and artists with the series till this day, such as the legendary Motoi Sakuraba and Shinji Tamura, along with character designer Mutsumi Inomata. With that said though, how about we do a quick rundown of some of the building blocks we've seen so far with the 4 we've played for a little recap, shall we? Tales of Fantasia not only laid the basic foundation for the series, but it also introduced the then rather different real-time combat system the series would further upgrade and use with the Linear Motion Battle System, LMBS for short. The system would emulate the 2D movement and background of that of a fighting game, but integrate it into a JRPG, which in a world of only turn-based role-playing games at the time of 1995, was quite revolutionary in itself. Fantasia would also introduce the opening animated movie the series has come to use with each title, while first using it during the SNES and Super Famicom days, which was quite phenomenal given the limitations at the time. The later games would have the help of Production IG and later Ufotable to produce full-fledged anime openings for all the games. Tales of Destiny would go on to introduce the early stages of the skits the series is known for, albeit only in the Japanese version of the game, but it did have its humble beginnings there. Destiny's story would also introduce a lot of the major themes to come in the series, usually involving 2 opposing sides of people or nations at odds with each other due to conflicting ideals or class, which while not the first to tackle these themes since Destiny, most of the games have gone on to talk about them in different ways, usually in a mature manner. Now, where Fantasia and Destiny would serve as the groundwork, Eternia and Destiny 2 would go on to improve and perfect the Tales format altogether, in its battle system, mechanics, and general gameplay. Tales of Eternia sees an overhaul to the LMBS system with the aggressive linear motion battle system, a much faster paced battle system that I believe begins to set into motion where the games are going to begin to go with its improvements towards combat. And while technically Fantasia's PS1 version introduced the first iteration of the cooking system known in Tales, Eternia was the first official Mothership title to properly give its introduction. Lastly, Tales of Destiny 2 brings about the first sequel Mothership title in the series, and brings us the first iteration of the grade system to the mix, a mainstay which allows the player to spend all their points collected in battle throughout the game and use them on bonuses for the New Game Plus playthrough. With all these additions in mind, we now move forward to the next set of games in the series to see what exactly they bring to the table, and what they have improved on or changed in the process. Tales of Destiny 2 marked the end of the Wolf Team era, as they would go on to merge into Namco Tales Studio shortly after, and with that mark comes more titles we'll be exploring in this grand adventure, so I hope you'll continue to join me as we learn about the series together. Trust me, the tale's not quite over just yet. We're just getting started.